Yo, what is going on, you guys? Bastion Wagio here, and today we're coming at you for the second time because the initial recording got corrupted. It is what it is, but we're coming at you with my boy Rob. Say hi to people at home, Rob.
What's up, people at home? I feel like I've said that before. I don't know why.
Yeah, technology is great, great, fantastic. But it feels like forever since we actually get to do these deck profiles with you, Rob. I know we do them, usually try to do it once a month, but things come up. God of War Ragnarok tends to happens to
video games come out, work happens, amazing game. It literally, like, I told Sebastian, this was like, I'm gonna try to so unfortunately I got sick, so I've been home from work, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take the time to learn Ishizu tier, and I learned Sprite, and then I looked at the date and I said, oh, God of War comes out, screw that, I'm playing that. So I've been playing a bunch of that, but in the meanwhile, when I've been taking little breaks from in between, I've been looking at the Sprite deck, and as the top card gave it away, we kind of just have a little bit of the spice to try to counter Ishizu tier. So I think the top three decks right now are Flunder, Sprite, and the Shizu tier, and the Shizu tier, Sprite, and Flunder. So this deck has a really good matchup into a Shizu tier, and then you kind of just dictate yourself deal with Flunderies. But yeah. So I feel like most of the Sprite stuff is pretty standard.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna get right into it.
Show me the sauce.
3 blue, 3 jet. Now this is as the joke used to be with Sky Striker, plain old chicken noodle soup, where this is just standard. 9 sprites. I was thinking about playing 10 with 2 red, but this deck is already 42 cards, and I would only ever play 2 red if I wasn't playing Pixies. But since you have a battle phase, I think Pixies is because it protects your board, it protects your Toad, and it protects your any of your rank 2s too. So if you a lot of times Bystials will just be able to beat over everything because you're not playing. So Bystials, because it's are so crazy, so you have having Pixies in your deck lets it so that way you can preactively search blue or use blue search Pixies, and they can't just beat over your board with a random they resolve. But it's also the way you're playing the deck, you should always try to keep your darks under your XYZ or not on the field, so that way they can never distill you.
Right.
Just trying to play around Bystials because they should be in everyone's deck is and I played 2 Swap Frog. Oh, I put that too far. I put 2 Swap Frog. I think Toad is really good. I'm trying out these instead of these 2. So usually I've been playing a Cap Shell and Hyperia, and then instead of Toad in the extra deck, I'm playing Nightmare Unicorn. But right now I'm trying Swap Frog because just having more negates going first is really good. I think my one qualm with Toad is that it can get super polyed by but since most decks are cut super poly, I'm not scared of getting my Toad super polyed. And then these cards conflict with the Prosperity, but they work well with Machines 2 and other and post side that lets you dig for Solemn Judgments or D-Shifter. And also these work under D-Shifter. So I'm not D-Shifter, but earlier lists I was maining Shifter and I was siding Shifter in every game 2 and 3. So if I'm always having Shifter in my deck, I wanted cards that always be good under Shifter. But I just kind of said, all right, cool. I'd rather have a more generically good turn 1 than making my deck a little bit more suboptimal. Playing game 2 and 3, I can just side out the. Then we have the Nimble cards. This package is just Nimble Angler is such a powerful card, and I don't think a lot of people realized it. Initially, a lot of people were Diva and Help, but the fact that you can just go Sprines and make a 32 Gigantic that you can keep on the board, as well as playing around Bystials is really good. And the fact that you can use your Swap Frog or your Toad to add back Nimble Beaver is really good follow-up. Because if you're with the build without the Toad, when they crack your board, you kind of just second for it. Versus alright, I resolve Nimble Beaver or resolve Nimble Angler, summon 2 Beavers, and they kill my Toad. That means my I can search back a Nimble and have it guaranteed. And then since they're waters, they let you play around your opponent's Bystials, which I think is really important.
Yeah. I think we said this last time in the previous recording that Sprite's probably the only real deck out there that can go through the majority of its play, if not the entire play, without having a single light or dark in the graveyard. I mean, of course, Floandrees does it as well, but to have
they
a
put
deck to
Shifter in the
actually.
grave.
Huh?
They put Shifter in the grave.
Yep, I mean they do put Shifter in the grave. That's true if you draw it. So I think that Sprite's the only deck that can actually go through its whole combo without needing to, depending on what you draw. And it can all be water, so you can play strictly around Bystials. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I think Bystials are just like very important in everyone's deck right now. So I think if your opponent's deck doesn't have Bystials, like you don't have to worry about their deck. Then for hand traps, I play 3 Ash. This is mostly actually for Flunder because this unless they open the field spell plus the other one, if they just summon any bird, you can ash it, and it plays around like the counter trap or the quick play spell. Sorry. So I think just having this as a generic card is really good. It's well branded and just like rogue decks. It's also application against tier. Like you can hit Havness, you can hit Shiren. It's just kind of like more mid when you play against tier element, but I think it's still like worthy enough in like the format. Like in a local format, this card is like very much needed. Versus like, right, I'm only playing against the Shihii tier. Let me. Then the part that killed our last video, the Bystials, so strong that they literally 2-0'd the recording. It's crazy.
We're still recording. We're still good.
Yes. Whew. Oh, safe. But yeah, 6 Bystials. Really like playing the Sorority. I have no idea what it does besides the fact that it's 3D Crow. But the main part of the Bystials is that like having all 3 makes it so technically you can hit every single tier name. So like, let's say you open up Magnamoot and another, you can Magnamoot search during the end phase, use the other tier name, and then Magnamoot last Bystial. So you pretty much have access to all 3. The cards also let you play around your opponent's just monsters being bigger than yours. Like one problem Sprite always had was that if you had a monster that was more than 32 or 15 without making a gigantic with 32, you couldn't deal with it. So these cards all let you bigger monsters. They let you bait stuff. Juiceworm letting you clear stuff is really good. Like, especially post side when you like shifter them, or a lot of time when they know you're playing Sprite, they'll just make Baguska. So you can literally just resolve Druisworm, banish a card, and then link the Druisworm off and link it with another Bystial. Or like, let's say you draw 1 Magnamoot, you can go Magnamoot, banish, end phase search Druisworm, then special the Druisworm, make make any rank 2 or link 2, and then Druisworm kills the Baguska. And since it's a grave, so they can't like protect it with anything. And yeah, I just think these cards are like super strong. Like this is one of the few decks that can play these as engine cards, like especially with Sprined. Any monster plus a level 2 is combo, so you don't even have to worry about like, oh my god, I need to draw 2s. I can draw Bystial on a 2. Like this card can get you to like a good end, or like let's say this plus this. Like these 2 can get you to a good end board. Like it's not the end of the world, and they're hand traps too. So that's the other important. But yeah, these cards are just so good. I feel like every deck should be playing these. Yeah, if your deck's not playing them, I highly disagree. And then so I actually did just monster spell trap for this deck profile. Usually I don't, but I just went with the old school classic stuff. Then for sprite spells, I just played 3 starter, 1 smashers, and I just put the sphere. I think this card is really important when you go first because it lets you. It's another way to play around tier limit cards. Because you can target their monster in their grave, and then either point it to a zone you're like 2 points to, or attached to an XYZ. So like you end on Toad, you can also just like double cross steal, put it on Toad. Or if you end on like Mannequin Cat, you can like use this, target that monster, summon it, and then Mannequin Cat. Or like put the monster on a Mannequin Cat. I definitely do. The only thing I would want to change about the deck is I'm contemplating playing the second Smashers, but like that's probably where you should be siding the second Smashers. And yeah, and just like 3 starters, like super standard. If I would never play less than 3, except in the Runic version. The Runic version was the build where I think playing less Smashers, and the reason for that, or the less starters. But the problem with in the pure version is you literally just need to see like a there, and like if you're playing a bunch of Bystials, it never really conflicts. Like the only thing that's scary about starter is when you like need to resolve a Bystial because you're scared of Hobness, or a Solic, because that's the other part is that a Shizu tier since they can play on your turn, they can effectively just, alright, you can't trap me 3 times, that's fine. I'm just gonna you wait on your turn, and then I'm gonna send something. Will get my value. But when you play regular, what's it called? When you play against like Spear Sprite, you just like starter and just don't never care. And like you pretty much you pretty much just play like more rank 2s that clear stuff. So like Onibomaru is really good, Nightmare Server. So the confliction never comes up. It's also just playing good in like a setting. Because that can randomly come up to bite you, but I think this like are all super standard. Yeah, I'm still contemplating maining a second Smashers by side the second one, so it's fine. Then okay, so all right, we're gonna ignore that one. But 3 Mass Change 2. We
Not
ignore
the
this
mixed
one.
rarities.
It's because for some reason I have 2 gold and 2 ultras, and I don't know where a 3rd one would be. So we're just gonna ignore that. Like 3 Mass Change 2. So basically, I was thinking about like what's just a win button against like the Shizu tier, and this card's pretty good. So if you play against a Shizu, you kind of just like your end board will pretty much be Elf, Toad, and a random Dark, and you just do this when they enter their standby phase. And the only thing that outs Darklaw is specifically Solic, but that means you're gonna smash it. You're gonna end up smashing the Solic anyway, or you're gonna Toad the Solic anyway. Or Pellerino shuffling back, but that means they had to have put a Shuffler and a Tier Limit in the grave before you summon Darklaw, and that's almost never gonna happen unless they resolve Hovness on your turn. But even then, if you have a Dark before you Gigantic, you could just Chain Mash Change 2. What's also good is this works well with Nimble Angler, because you can just discard off Nimble Angler, and if they respond to this, that means they don't have something to the what's it called? The Nimble Angler. So like for example, if you play against like Tier and they have Luke Hollows, and you go Mass Change 2 and discard the Angler, if they don't negate the Mass Change 2, when they go to negate the Angler, they have to banish one of their own Tier. Versus just letting resolve. So I think this package is really good. And this is part of why I like the deep draw stuffs with Hyperion and Capsule. Because this let me dig for those. Like if my hand didn't have Prosperity, my hand could like dig for this card with Hyperion and Capsule. But I think still Toad is like having an Omni negate with your Darklaw is more important. Like by Toad Hero, like back in the day. Like real OGs know how much I love like the Toad Hero deck. But Toad plus a negate or Darklaw plus a Toad is like really for most decks out. Then play 3 talents. This card should be an also NB in everyone. The main thing about this is Tier Limit is just doing Hovness, Calbeck, all the issues stuff on your turn. So this card lets you like react to that. For example, even if they Hovness and they miss, you can still just like look at the hand, or you can just draw more. So I think this card should just like should be in everyone's main deck. And then 3 Prosperity. Weird. What's funny is game ones you can never summon Mannequin Cat, so you always like banish this off Prosperity, so it's weird. And then post side, if I'm going second, I'll side out the Mass Change 2 stuff, so then you just have free cards that you can ban. The only thing that kind of sucks is banishing like your Zoo stuff, because with the exception of Cerberus and Onibomaru, you have nowhere to like clear a lot of stuff, and Zeus lets you do that. But this card, you still kind of need it. It still fixes the deck's consistency problems, and all in all, I think this card is still just like very much stable, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few duelists start to play that at 2 actually instead of 3. The Prosperity.
Yeah, no, I had it at 2 when I was playing the deep draw stuff. When I was playing Capsule and Hyperia, because the amount of times that you like resolve this and draw into this is just like so. It seems so astronomically low, but it happens more often than you think. So like that's the only reason I could think to play 2. But I'm still would be at 41, even though that's my luck. And I'd rather just play an extra card if it's the card that lets me see 6 more cards. And plus, like post side, you want this so you can see like Solemn Judgments or your just consistency cards. Yeah, it's the main deck 42. Boom boom. And then for the extra deck, 1 second. For the extra deck, we got Darklaw. This card's oh my god, it's fun. Yeah, I haven't summoned this card in forever, so the fact that I get to play this really. This is fun fact. When I started playing, I played this in 2015, and this is one of my same Darklaws. Never getting rid of them. So then we got Shinbuster. This is really good to end on too, because it's something that can't be super. So if you end on like Elf Toad this, they can never super kill you. That's really good. Onibomaru. It's a cool like name shift Onibomaru that I pulled. It's really cool. But this card lets you just like deal with bigger monsters. It's like a yeah, you can just like detach a material and then banish a card until the next end phase. So like this lets you deal with stuff and then just kill them. This is also really good when you shifter them because you can just clear the monsters and then like make the way clear for games. 2 gigantic. I would never play less than 2. Toad, Mannequin Cat. Yeah, this is staple for post side because I play like the Thunder and the Tetsudo card. So this is like really, I think you need this against Ishi, mainly because like their boards are so like oppressive that like having a that just so you can't play the game is like super neat. And since you have one in the extra deck, like I think you just like you should always play it. And what's also really good is like if they Rhino Heart too, if he's a warrior, he's a water, so that summons Tetsudo. If they like do any tier limit, you summon Tetsudo. Like and then when you play against other decks, this turns into engine. This can turn into like let's say like a Sprite Red if they ashed you, or this can turn into a Sprite Blue if they're just playing darks. This card's actually very like high impact. The Zeus stuff. I really actually don't want to play this card, but I think it comes up when they have their own Kaleido. The fusion, the one that can be like when it's sent to the grave, summons it back. Because you just like bounce it and then you just like go down. I rarely ever use this package. It was there. I mean, then for the links, Dark Charmer. This is really good. Stealing their Sprite Blues. Yes. Stealing their Sprite Blues or stealing their Bystials is really good. Like, there's a really cool play, and Tier Limit can do this more. But like when they mill 10, you can like Dark steal their Magna move, and then you use it to search your own, which can happen a lot. If they mill 10 and mill Magna, you can just like make this steal their Magna, search your own, or search your own Bystial, and then you can use this and a Sprite to make a gigantic. Thammy Cerberus, which we talked about clearing stuff, Sprined, and 2L. So I didn't play IP and Avermax. I feel like it just has an out to it. Like most Sprite lists or most tier lists should be playing like Warlord, which is like a very obscure card, but like when cards like Avermax get popular, people play just like the one, or they like you still have the Zeus package too. Like there's just so many ways to like deal with the Avermax. So I was like, I'm gonna play a card that's like I'll out it, and like it's a card that's so real that people are just always gonna have to do it versus just playing cards that like they're just like, I'm gonna make it and they're not gonna out it because they will. Yeah, it's like Dark Law. Even like Dark Law has outs, but like you build your deck to be like protect the Dark Law when you make it. Versus like I'm just gonna make this Avermax in there, and like I feel like that's what a lot of people are doing when the IP into Avermax stuff. So I didn't even feel like it was worth playing. And then just a side deck really quickly.
I was watching. You just reminded me. I was watching MST TV's channel on the IP and Avermax. IP Avermax play versus the what's the TCG game? Is it Lulucaros?
Yeah.
The new fusion for tier limits.
Yeah.
Whether it can negate IP Masquerena or not, because apparently it's like after it's giving you the after it resolves, you're supposed to then special summon, whereas Lucaros says to negate something that would involve, and there's like a discrepancy to whether if it can or cannot negate IP Masquerena. And I know you're a judge at your local game store, so like how would you rule that scenario?
Well, if I'm correct, Lucalos is like it's like when your opponent activates a card that includes the effect to do something. I'm just reading it. Lucalos. When your opponent activates a card effect that includes a special summon the monster, and you can negate the activation. And then I believe IP says, sorry, I literally have this page right here.
This is after.
Yeah, it's after this. Yeah, so it's because IP says after this effect resolve, which means like it's doing. So the actual effect is to link summon, which is an effect that summons it, but it doesn't actually summon it until the card's resolving. So it's probably just like a weird conjunction of after this card resolves that the Lucalos can't negate it. Yeah, certain cards just have like the weird conjunctions or weird like sentence thing, to where if you don't perform a certain part of the action, then you can't perform the action entirely. So the most common is "and if you do." So for example, like Vessel, the Tenyi card that's like if you control a non-effect monster, or Foolish a worm, then if you control a non-effect monster, then you can Foolish, or then you can add a Tenyi. But if you don't perform action A, you don't perform action B. So let's say you have Macrocosmos up. If you send the thing, send a Tenyi, or send a worm, and control a non-effect monster, but you to the grave, it got banished instead, so you can't search the what's it called. Or like, I believe also Lucalos has this thing where if it doesn't destroy the card, you don't send it to you. So it's usually just weird sentencing like that. The Lucalos does come up with the IP thing because if they, I just dropped a bunch of cards. If they resolve Havness sending and making Lucalos, which is the most popular blind, like they'll blindly just make a Lucalos because it deals with more cards than let's say like a Dragon Stapelio. So a lot of people will just play the thing instead. So I understand, like.
So how what's the favor that you were ruling then?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that ruling seems very much correct, and it's kind of. I feel like there's another interaction. I think it's kind of like with the. It's like Solemn Strike versus the IP and Revolts. So like, for example, if I go Chain Link 1 Revolt and you have no response, I can strike there because it's as the effect is resolving. So the last thing to happen was the Link summon, not a spawn. Rulings always are weird. Definitely, if you're playing an event, like you're playing a high tier event, definitely talk to the head judges before, like if you have any like ruling discrepancy or anything you just want to clarify, because sometimes rulings change from event to an event, and you can never really go. But they ruled it that way at this event.
Right, so if you're watching at home, always ask your head judge.
And then for the side, just really quickly, 3 Shifter, best card in the format. The reason you can't main it though is because when you draw it going kind of awkward, because like you'll activate it, make a weird board, and they say craft your board, then you just like have no resources. So I think this card is definitely, you side it for going second, and then you do what the guy who's playing in Pasadena does, where you just make them go first. But when I choose to go first because I was playing the Tetsudo, so I was the Mannequin Cat stuff. I kind of want to go first because against them, I'd rather resolve Mannequin Cat, make this, and then have like a Judgment set, because this is just like more protective kind of stuff, and I think that's a lot better for this format because going first is just like more control. Red Resonator, because I want to summon a, what is this actual effect? I want to summon a level 4 lower monster from my hand, and no other reasons involving the time. And then Pankratops, I wanted another going second, and this is also technically a Mannequin Cat target, because if you play against a Shizu tier, they're all Earth, so this is also something you can do. But this can also be if you wanted to, because Fenrir's also.
Yeah.
Also, no Fenrir's in my deck because it conflicts with the Bystials. So if I'm going second, I want to resolve Bystials, and that means I have monsters on my board, which means I can't use Fenrir. That's the main reason there's no Fenrir. And then one Gamma Burst, and one Gamma Burst and the second Smashers. You want some more stuff for like Products. That's what you like out every Floodgate, and then Gamma Burst with the D shift. I think that's like, you can't just like shift to them and not do anything. You have to like shift to them and try that. So you can like resolve Gigantic, summon 4 dudes, and then like this makes them all like 14 plus whatever they are. So everything becomes around like 27 to. Okay.
Yeah, because when you activate Shifter, you're kind of like an pedal to the metal, like, to make sure that you're OTKing.
Yeah, like you can't just go, I'm activate Shifter and not do
then
like it's like that's like the thing about Flunderies, where like you Shifter them, but then they end on a weak board, which means you will break their board, and then you put them on a Floodgate. So Flunderies doesn't have to OTK. This deck doesn't typically have that Floodgate, so you have to OTK. And like, it doesn't like mess you up, but it messes up your follow-up, which I think is And the last side deck card is Evenly. This swaps between like a lot. I like this more because it is a trap, so it doesn't lose to stuff like Anti-Spell, and if people are doing like Eradicator, it doesn't lose to that. Also, against like certain combo decks, this card's just really good, putting them in a simplified game state. If they're not ending in the mirror match too, this also lets you bait their because Elf will have to bring back like a carrot, and then you can just like play and then hold this. But I think it's just like more versatile than Lightning Storm. But this also goes between this and Lightning Storm, so I think this is better for right now. But I'm also But yeah, so that is the October. Oh, no, it's November. Jesus. Jesus.
November,
it is November.
baby.
It is the 11th
in a year. Holy smokes.
Jesus. That's actually spooky. But yeah, that is the November deck of the month. If you guys want to play the format and want to play the deck that's not Ishizu tier, I highly recommend Sprite. I think it's very simple and like teaches you how to play the game very well. And it reminds me of like Salmon Gate, which is probably why I'm so drawn to the deck. Because it's one of my favorite decks ever. But yeah, it's like a very good budget option. I think everything is like still relatively inexpensive too. Like I think blues might be 40s to 50s, but compared to like Pelerinos being like 75s to 80s, the what's it called? Some of like the fairy stuff went up too, like $10 each, stuff like that. So this is just like a nice little like semi-budget like option to play. But yeah, I hope you guys don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you have any final words, Sebastian.
Yeah, calling this deck semi-budget is an interesting decision. I think it depends on where you are in the game. I
think it's a competitive budget.
It's like, a competitive budget deck. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, it's not like
I do think that if you are someone who's looking to get into the game for the first time, I think this is going to be a really interesting time to do it in. Only because a lot of the staple cards that were hundreds of dollars previously, you can now pick up for like $10-15. Ash Blossoms got reprinted like 3 or 4 times this year. Lightning Storm, Triple Tactics, all these really high impact cards have gotten reprinted, so the overall threshold to get into the game has gone down quite a bit. But if you are a new player looking to play competitively, you are going to want to do a lot of studying. I'll go ahead and say it like that, because with Ishizu Tier Lament being the best deck, and it being a very, very intellectual deck, I personally believe you definitely have some really, really good budget options, whether it's sprites or Fluanderies that are a lot more beginner friendly to if you want to go ahead and learn. But for a competitively budget friendly deck, I think that's more fair to call it.
Like, yeah, no, I did kind of misspeak with that, but like if you look at every card in the deck, like I think with the exception of Prosperity, everything has a reprint that is inexpensive, and like the Bystials because they just came out, but like Ashes were in the Megatins. Maven just like kind of like helped a lot of people that didn't have so like Evenly's in there, Impermanence is in there, Talents is in there, Ashes in the Megatins, and then the I think the Nimble cards are like a little bit like on the price, not like pricey, but like they're like, I think Angler's last look for like $8 each. But like Toad was in there, Shifter was in the Megatin. It was all these stuff.
Yeah, so it's even in the deck. Crystal Beast structure deck as commons.
Yeah,
but if you're gonna pick them up, just go ahead and pick up the ultra rare version from the Megatin.
No, you can get the Crystal Beast deck for like $30. Get 3 Ash, 3 Bell, 3 Shifter, 3 Cosmic, 2 Trail. And like the Crystal Beast monsters are like kind of good to have, because if you ever play Tier Element, is build a Tier Element that plays the Emerald Traders card and the Trap from the Megatin. So I think there's like budget Yu-Gi-Oh got a little bit better at the end of the year. It's just unfortunate that the only deck to play is Ishizu tier or decks playing this meathead.
Yeah.
Like, unless except Exosister, but like that deck is just bad. But yeah, this is
if you're gonna play Exosister, like stop and go play Thunder.
Yeah, it's like the people were just like, yeah, Exosister's good, but they just like can't compete with the Ishizu cards. Like the Ishizu cards, at least with like Sprite can like kind of play around the shuffle pack guy, going second. But it's just like, all right, you put up these cards that say I can't do anything, but I'm just gonna make big monsters that you can't deal with. Yeah, and I feel like Ishizu cards
beat like the crap out of all your little monsters.
Or you just make Baguska, and like the what's it called? Like the Exorcist deck doesn't have like really good like to just getting Baguska, and it happens more often than you think. It's actually just crazy. But yeah, that is. Let me just put this man back in the middle.
So that's gonna be it for the October-November hashtag combined deck of the month. All right,
it's you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely check out my collecting page. Reels are gonna be coming out soon. Do one for this beautiful Spellground that I got for some God of War Funko Pops. I'm gonna post soon. And yeah, guys, don't forget to check out _collecting.
Yeah.
And also definitely check out Game Day Toys and Games. Game Day T. A lot of cool stuff is gonna be happening towards the end of the year. So we have to make sure we plug those as well.
There you go. Quick plug. Also, if you guys want to go ahead and follow Rob on Instagram, I'm going to go ahead and have his little thing in the description if you want to go ahead and check him out. Thank you so much for coming on the channel, Rob. Love having you around, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys do enjoy these types of videos, go ahead and make sure you let me know by smashing a like, subscribe button. And without further ado, guys, we'll see you in the next one.